It's all a waste. Without a friend or family member who cares, no matter what I try to do, it's all a waste of time and energy because not a goddamn one of you is going to do a goddamn thing to stop the abuse. You're going to make excuses why it's somehow magically okay because I defended myself. It's okay to harm me. You're all trash. Every goddamn one of you. There are zero good people in Tillamook, with the exception of myself, but I'm not from Tillamook. Obviously, nobody cares. Does that make it okay to harm me? Because nobody actually cares. When you hear what people did because they care, is it things that show that they actually care, or is it things that show me that they wanted me to do what they wanted? If I do what they want, if they promise to help me and then instead of helping me, they want me to jump through a bunch of impossible circles, they're not helping me. None of you are good people. None of you. Now, how many times did this asswipe call me today? We got to call up 911 again. The address of the emergency would be the Tillamook Police Department. I need to get the information for a phone number that I can call to turn in 911 dispatch from this morning, as well as to turn in the two deputies or the two officers who showed up.
Okay, and where are you located right now?
I am currently at the library trying to turn this in safely. What I need is the phone number of your supervisor so that I can turn in the people this morning. That's why I'm calling this number.
Okay.
Now, there is an emergency. There is an emergency. My name is Sean Schwartz. Now, why is it that you're not giving me the information for your supervisor?
Well, Sean, I'm going to just get a little bit of information from you.
You're literally ignoring what it is that I asked you for. I need to turn in the people that I spoke with this morning from 911. What I need is a number that I can contact to get a hold of your supervisor that's not an emergency number. I am trying not to tie up the 911 line.
Okay. Well, that phone number when you're ready is
503-815-1911. 815. And what's the last four?
1911.
1911. Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Sean Schwartz. I'd like to speak with the supervisor. I need to turn in some situations from 911 this morning.
All right, can you spell your first and last name for me?
My first name is Sean, S-H-A-W-N, and my last name is Schwartz, S-C-H-W-A-R-T-Z. You sound just like the guy I just talked to at 911.
Because I am the same guy that you talked to. Your phone number?
You don't have it on there? Give me just one moment.
occur at?
I was behind the Safeway when I made the call. The call that I was making was about harassment as well as the safety of the situation with the police. The police keep on threatening, harassing me, and intimidating me rather than focusing on the abuse that I'm calling in. That's one of the issues that I've been trying to explain to 911. I'm also having the same issue here that I had in Colorado or in Nebraska. In Nebraska, I was repeatedly sent to the police to turn them into themselves, and the police sent me to the state trooper's office for them to investigate themselves, for them to tell me they can't police the police. I have to go back to the original agency for that original agency to tell me that they're not allowed to investigate themselves. It's very overwhelming.
That the police are harassing you?
It's not just the police. It's primarily a lot of other people harassing me over the police. The police tend to treat homeless people like we're all trash, we're all junkies, and honestly, most of the country treats us that way. Now, I was forced into homelessness because of a friend of mine who was killed, but the officers here and several of the people who are harming me over them, including Andrew Wolnez, are still doing it. Andrew Wolnez has repeatedly called me from a restricted number on a phone. Literally, the only people who had that phone number were myself, three people who were trying to help me, and the courts. So, who did Andrew Wolnez get it from? One of the three people that tried to help me, or the courts? He literally got that number from the courts the day that I took him to court for the stalk. But the thing is that I'd been trying to turn him in for assaults, and the police weren't having it. Officer Martinez, as well as Officer Lothman, have been involved in a lot of these situations and been very abusive through them. Also, intentionally lying about the situations and lying about the law, basically sending me around in circles, anything except do their job to investigate the assaults against me. Now, instead of doing their job as mandated reporters, because I am a disabled adult who's in an at-risk situation, instead of understanding that I'm an at-risk adult, they try pretending that I'm mentally ill and sending me on the mentally ill golf course, I suppose you would call it. It's just a game. So then, because the police didn't bother to investigate or document any of the crimes against me, they pawn me off on others. I have to go to the DA's office to try to turn that in, and the DA's office tells me that they have no idea what I'm talking about because the police haven't bothered to turn anything in. Then the police today.
Who would you like me to give this information to?
Well, sir, we need to stop 911 from being dismissive in this way and also from assisting police in bullying their victims.
So are you wanting to speak to a 911 supervisor?
I need to be able to talk to a 911 supervisor. Yes, that's why I asked for a 911 supervisor's number. I wasn't expecting you to give me a number to call you. It's your number again. The thing is, in Dual County, both of the numbers are the same as it is apparently here. The city number for the sheriff's department and the 911 dispatch center are exactly the same places. So if whether I call 911 or the other number, I'm still going to the same people. But they were able to get me for abuse of 911 because I was calling 911. Meanwhile, I was being abused at that point in time. I was doing the same thing that I'm doing here. I was trying to turn in the sheriff. I was trying to turn in police who had committed crimes against me, as well as others who those police had assisted in getting away with committing crimes against me.
Okay. So are you wanting to speak to a supervisor?
Yes.
Okay. Just one second. This is another supervisor. How can I help you?
I need to discuss the abuse of power by the police here, as well as using 911 dispatch in order to retaliate against their victims. Well, one of the things about dispatch is that it is important that when we're being victimized, that we can safely turn in the abuse. And that means that the 911 dispatch and the police treat us with courtesy and respect. And I did not get that on any of the calls that I've made to 911. And for certainly, I've been treated with complete and total disrespect from the police and by the police.
When did this occur?
The most recent incident was this morning. I was trying to call in a situation where people were driving by, honking their horns, screaming the N word at me, and throwing stuff at my vehicle. But also, I had to try to address yet again the issue with the police not doing their job since I got here, threatening, harassing, and intimidating me, as well as spreading the slander that I'm being assaulted over.
Okay. I just want to confirm your name is Sean. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Sean. I just want to ensure that you have been told or that you are aware that the 911 agency here in Tillamook is a separate agency, a separate entity from all the local law enforcement. Have you ever been told that?
Ma'am, here's the thing is that whether or not they say they're a separate agency, they do work together with law enforcement. There's also
You're
the
not
fact,
wrong on that. We do all work together. That's correct.
and that's the point here, is that I understand that the 911 and the police are not the same agency. I also understand that when I call 911 to turn in abuse, especially when there's a safety risk, it is against the law for you guys to send the people that safety risk is with. That doesn't matter if it's my ex-husband or a police officer, it's the same safety risk. It's also the same laws.
Okay, so I just want to confirm you feel that your safety was not cared for when we dispatched police. Is that what I'm understanding?
The information that I'm trying to give to the police aren't willing to do their jobs. And I have attempted to explain that to 911, that the police officers and the sheriff's department here have created a safety issue. When I try to explain that to 911, I tend to get talked over or bullied by the 911 operator as if they're friends. And whether they're friends or not is arbitrary to me. I don't care if they're friends. What I care about is that I'm being abused and I need the assaults to stop. I need the threats to stop. Right now, I'm having to deal with a guy named Andrew Wilnez. Go ahead.
Who are you being abused by?
Local police, as well as a guy named Andrew Wilnez, as well as a lot of web sleuths on the internet.
Okay.
They stalk me literally anywhere I go.
Do you know who the ones on the internet are?
I do know who some of them are. Some of them are the Bollinger family, Ted Bollinger, Rose M. Kelly. It's actually Rose himself now. A woman named Kara Johnson Miles, a woman named Cara Rogers. There's also several of the officers here, as well as elsewhere, who have taken part in it. I've got recording after recording of people cursing at me, assaulting me, physical and otherwise. I've also been sexually assaulted more than once over the situation. I've been illegally incarcerated. They've also done what's called illegal use of restraints. Now,
Sean,
yes, ma'am.
I just want to confirm, you have just mentioned to me multiple times that you've been assaulted as well as sexually assaulted. Do you need an ambulance to check you out?
The problem is that the situations are repeated and ongoing. I was not sexually assaulted this morning. I was sexually assaulted in Nebraska. That's one of the things with me having to flee. The repeated physical assaults that I've endured. The most recent physical assault was just a couple of days ago, but I don't know the person who did it. I don't know the person who did it, which is why I didn't try to turn it in.
Okay.
I have tried to turn in.
Have you been seen by a medical professional for your assault?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you want to be seen? I can send an ambulance to your location.
The problem with that is that I've attempted that in the past. I was assaulted by Dr. Stephanides at the hospital here for trying to turn in abuse. I'm literally afraid to go to any of these services. When I first got here, I didn't have any friends, and so I was blown off by everybody. Once I started to get friends, a lot of the people who were predatory towards me got real angry that people were starting to listen to me. Um, as far as the situation this morning with 911, I've tried calling immediately during a situation where I'm being assaulted. It results in my phone getting broken. So I'm told that when that's happening, to travel somewhere else and then call. So I've traveled somewhere else to call. And when I've made the calls after traveling somewhere else, I was told that because it wasn't happening immediately, that there was no emergency and that the problem was over. And then I got hung up on. The thing is that these are the same people assaulting me over and over again. I'm told not to do what?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to confirm those people that were assaulting you, was that occurring this morning?
This morning they were throwing stuff at my vehicle and screaming the N-word at me. So they didn't actually physically assault me. They were throwing stuff at my vehicle and yelling at me.
Oh, okay.
It was physical. They threw stuff at my vehicle. But the other thing is the physical assaults by Andrew Wolnez, those are full-on physical assaults, and there's multiples of it recorded on my channel. When I've tried to go to the police about it, there are 5 different people in this town who they call mentally ill that have been assaulted, and every single one of them, when I've tried to turn in assaults that have happened to those people, the police have said that those people deserved it. Officer Martinez told one of the witnesses to the abuse, her name is Candace, she works at the Safeway. Officer Martinez told her that I brought this on myself when I tried to turn in the assaults by Andrew Wolnez. Now, I did try to turn them in independently and was talked over.
Okay, bear with me one second, Sean. I just kind of want to see if I can find some information in here. Okay, hold on. I'm looking in my system. Bear with me just a moment. Because I have seen where you have called in the past. I'm just verifying.
Yes, ma'am. I called this morning once. The first time that I called, I got hung up on, so I tried to call back. The guy on the other side got a real severe attitude with me because I was trying to turn in the police and the other abuse that was happening.
Okay, I will review that.
Anyway, he called me back, and I called him back, and I tried explaining what was going on, but I literally couldn't hear him. It's like he turned his volume down to nothing. And then he hung up on me again, so I called him back again, and I tried explaining, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. And then he hung up on me again, and then the cops showed up. I'm afraid to give the address of my location because the police have taken part in harming me so often that I have to be afraid of them showing up to intimidate me again or threaten me or try to antagonize me to the point that I can't speak properly. And then they try to twist anything I say into an excuse to harm me. This morning it's not your fault. What I was trying to explain to the dispatch operator this morning is that there is a safety issue with the police and turning this stuff into the police, and that the reason that I call 911 is to make sure that it is recorded and documented before the police end up talking over me. But that's real difficult when the 911 dispatcher operator does the exact same thing and talks over me.
Which I understand you've already disclosed that to me, so I will be reviewing that, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I also did yell, and I don't pretend that I didn't. I'm not going to. Well, somebody's got to be honest. Just because everybody else is a crook doesn't mean I have to be.
That is a very fair statement. I understand that position.
If I did it, I did it, and if I said it, I said it. Anyway.
Yeah, we all need to be honest with our actions, don't we?
Yes, ma'am. The thing is that I'm abused when I try to speak about what's going on. I'm talked over and dismissed. I do eventually get to the point where I do get demeaning and cursing and disrespectful back. And that's not something I ever wanted to do. I don't want to curse at people. I don't want to yell at people. But also, I'm in a very scary situation and I'm assaulted often. If I'm having difficulty speaking because I'm scared because I just had to deal with an incident, then the last thing that I need is for people who are supposed to understand and supposed to help us to capitalize on the fact that I can't speak and make a bunch of inferences over the top of me. When people make false inferences about things that happened that they either A, weren't there for, or B, they were there for and they know that they did wrong, it makes it difficult for me to be able to speak to those people, especially when they're the law enforcement officers that I'm supposed to turn in harm. You know, we're told to go to police. We don't expect that when we go to the police that they're going to bully us.
Okay, hold on to me 1 second. I need to verify something.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry. I am a working supervisor, so that means that I do actively dispatch while I supervise. So that's why I may have you hold on here and there, because I have to verify that the dispatchers don't need my help with other things as well, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate your courtesy in that. So I'm going through, I remember at one point seeing that you have been contacted by many different officers in Tillamook. Are there certain officers that you want to speak with certain officers you want to speak with their supervisor about?
I've attempted to speak to their supervisor. Their supervisor was Police Chief Ray Rao, but he got removed from being the sheriff because of crimes that he was committing, obviously. I'm one of the people that was attempting to turn in those exact crimes. Anyway,
I can contact either a sergeant or the lieutenant there and see about getting someone there to contact you if you'd like.
Well, that's one of the things that I've been trying to do for the last 16 months. They haven't called me back.
Okay.
They're also not paying attention to safety issues, like with my phone number given out. I get restricted call after restricted call after restricted call, and then
What
police.
do you mean your phone number being given out to who?
To people on the internet. Like I said, I'm targeted a lot, harmed a lot, harassed a lot, and assaulted a lot.
Who's giving your phone number out?
This time it was the courts. The courts gave everyone as my safe phone number. The court, COURT. I had to try to take out a protection order against him. Now, that's because of repeated assaults that I was trying to turn in, but the police weren't hearing it. They won't investigate any of the crimes committed against me.
Okay. Can I give information to one of our officers on duty to see if they can come over and speak with you when they're done with their emergency?
Well, the thing is that the officers in specific that have given me problems is all of them. There might be a couple of officers from the sheriff's department that haven't done this, but every officer from the police department, with the exception of Jackson, has taken part in this. And I don't even know if Jackson is.
The county sheriff's office.
He's with the county sheriff's office?
Jackson's with the county sheriff, yes.
All right. What I was going to say.
Is call history with you, and it looks like you had, and I could be incorrect, it looks like you had some okay contacts with Officer Sadler.
I have had 2 interactions with Officer Sadler where he almost did his job. The situation with Tyler Crabtree was stopped, but that required intervention from a man named Jared Scudder.
Okay.
If it hadn't been for.
I am mentioning Officer Sadler is because he's our officer on duty today.
Yes, ma'am. He's the ones that was here this morning that was bullying me. When there was somebody with me.
Probably don't want to talk to him again then.
When there was somebody with me, Sadler treated me with a lot more respect. But this morning there wasn't somebody with me, and that's why there's supposed to be a friend or family member or an advocate present for anything like that. I don't have one of those.
I know today is Saturday, but have you considered talking to victims assistance at the courthouse?
I have. They blew me off because the police haven't written down any of the crimes that I've taken to them. Officer Sadler tried to misinform me this morning about that and claim that they've turned in everything I've brought to them. But I've been to the DA's office repeatedly. The DA hasn't set up a single case file against any of the people I've tried to turn in. Also, the police keep trying to pretend that this is all just verbal abuse and stuff like that. It's not. I'm verbally abusive because people physically assault me. And when I try to turn it in, I'm blown off by officers. Like the three main officers here who have been a major issue are Officers Martinez, Lothman, and Trent Olson. Also, I've spoken with both of the sergeants and been attempting to speak with the lieutenant. Both of the sergeants, I was trying to turn in Lothman, and they promised to send out a sergeant. One was Sergeant Harrell, and I can't remember the name of the other one. In both of those cases, the sergeant refused to take a report, refused to allow me to make a report. In both of those situations, they tried pawning me off onto the state troopers, the Oregon State Troopers office. And the Oregon State Troopers office told me that they don't investigate police, that I had to go back to Tillamook Police Department to literally the same officers who had pawned me off on the state troopers. Like they're just playing ping pong with me.
I can understand that would be frustrating.
Also, Lynn Lothman, when I tried to turn him in at the hospital in November of 2022, Lynn Lothman is the officer who showed up. Now, the people at the hospital are aware that if there is a conflict of interest or I have been harmed and I am trying to turn that in, that if the person who harmed me shows up, they are to have that person removed, even if they have to do so by force using another officer. Instead, they allowed Officer Lothman to basically stand there and grill me for a half an hour, knowing he's one of the officers I was trying to turn in.
I understand. Sean, I do need to interrupt you for a moment. Unfortunately, I don't have control over the sheriff's office or the Tillamook City Police. So unfortunately, I would have to refer you to their supervisors or the lieutenant for your...
Yes, ma'am. And what you're telling me is all stuff I already know. It's also stuff that I've already gone through and attempted, and they are not having any of it. They're well entrenched in making sure I can't turn them in. This creates a safety issue for me and puts my life at risk.
At this time, I'm more than happy to see what I can do about helping you with the issues you feel that you've experienced with Tillamook 911. I'll see what I can do about that. I will review the call and, if necessary, speak with the involved dispatchers.
All right. The other thing is the situation with Sadler, the one that you said is on now. Like I said, I'm disabled. It's illegal for them to treat me this way. Like nobody should be abused for trying to turn in assaults against them or long-term abuse by people like Andrew Wolnez.
Right. And this abuse, is it physical abuse? Because you mentioned verbal abuse. Are you
Physical abuse, financial abuse, and like I said earlier too, there was also sexual abuse, but it wasn't in this state.
Yeah, you said
I have had to endure repeated threats of sexual abuse by a bunch of youth from Tillamook Sporting Goods parking lot, and that has been going on for about.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you no longer reside in the Sporting Goods parking lot, is that correct? You've moved.
That is correct, but like I also said, these people have vehicles, they are mobile, and they still harass me every day.
I'm not discrediting that. I just wanted to make sure that you're not unintentionally or intentionally putting yourself in harm's way. So I wanted to ensure that you have since left that location.
I left that location 6 months ago, and they have followed me to every location since. I've been recording them throwing fireworks at my vehicle, throwing beer bottles at my vehicle, soda bottles at my vehicle, tampons, pumpkins, eggs, toilet paper, you name it. I've also recorded their license plate numbers. The thing is that the police aren't interested in any of that information. They show up, talk over me, and pretend that they did their job.
So, Sean, I don't have the ability to provide legal advice, nor do I have any control over the police or sheriff's office.
Well, they tried. What you do have control over is the dispatcher this morning over the situation that was going on. It was inappropriate for them to come out and bully me as if I was using 911 improperly, because I wasn't.
I hear you. So that's why I'm going to review that and, if necessary, speak with the involved dispatchers. Okay, is there anything further I can assist you with right now?
Well, my life is still at risk because of those officers and because of the ongoing abuse. And it is happening literally every day. I don't have a way to stop this, ma'am. And, them pushing me to suicide is the wrong thing for them to do. I'm
Are you
obviously not attempting to kill myself. I'm attempting to get help stopping the abuse.
okay? Sean, are you currently suicidal?
Ma'am, I'm always suicidal, but I'm not attempting to harm myself or others.
If you're feeling suicidal, per my policy, I will have to send help to you.
That's the thing, is that it's not help, and that's only in the case of someone attempting suicide. I'm not attempting suicide, and I am literally always suicidal, have been nonstop over this abuse. Being abused pushes people to suicide. And no, I'm not having any suicidal thoughts. No, I'm not attempting to kill myself. And that's one of the things about that protocol there, is that if I'm being assaulted, that's not a big worry to anybody. Nobody cares. If people bully me to the point that I want my life to end, people don't focus on the bullies. They focus on trying to discredit me as a human being by locking me up under suicidal ideations. So the point here is not allowing people to misuse and abuse that particular system. I'm not calling because I'm asking you to kill me, and I'm not attempting to kill myself either. What I'm telling you is that people are bullying me, and when they're bullying somebody to this point, yes, that is a natural reaction. When somebody threatens,
I'm offering you the services we have, and at the time, I'm understanding that you don't want response from those services.
I'm telling you that an improper response is worse than no response at all. I'm saying that locking somebody up under this suicidal ideation stuff results in the victim never being allowed to speak up, never being able to stop the abuse. Because the thing is, people don't kill themselves over abuse, they kill themselves over neglect.
Okay. So what I was saying, Sean, is I'm offering to send you a response from the units we have on duty right now, but you told me no. Is that still the case? Are you still not wanting a response from police, fire, or medical?
I do not need a response from any of those in a fashion that is unsafe, which has been the problem. I don't need an officer who's committed felonies against me showing up to commit more felonies and bully me again. As far as me wanting my life to end, that's specifically because of that bullying. It would probably be a smart idea to do something about the bullying instead of doing things to discredit the victim.
And that's fair, but I don't have that kind of power at this time. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't from a victim standpoint, but it makes sense from your point of view, which means that I don't have a choice but to accept it.
Well,
I don't understand all this stuff.
Help you, but with that being said, my hands are tied a bit. I'm more than happy to send a policeman or the fire department if you're having a fire emergency, or an ambulance if you need medical attention. If there's another agency that I can help send to you, I would be more than happy to do that if it's within my policies, if I can do so.
Well, since it's illegal to send me to the local police because I'm trying to turn them in, I really don't know who to turn it into. I've tried the sheriff's department. They blow me off and tell me I have to go back to the police department.
Okay.
Like, this is literally putting my life at risk. I will be harmed again today, guaranteed.
Give you a phone call?
Do what?
Would you like a phone call maybe from the Tillamook Family Counseling Center?
Well, that's the problem, ma'am. I'm trying to turn in Tillamook Family Counseling Center because they've taken part. Yes, ma'am. Well, within the first month of being in this town, I'd already been to every service, and every one of them told me that it's not their job to investigate abuse. I need to go to another place. So I've literally been to all of them. There's also the fact that the police keep sending me to these places about abuse. The thing about the crisis line is that they don't care if people are abusing me. The only thing they care about is if I'm trying to kill myself or others. And if the answer is no, they ignore me. People are assaulting me by they're pretending that I'm a child molester and a rapist is their excuse to assault me, and pretending that I'm a murderer is an excuse to assault me. The thing is, I can't make the police do their jobs, and as a disabled person, I can't do their job for them. I'm incapable. I don't have the finances to do it. I don't have the physical abilities to do it. They're also ignoring the fact that I am disabled and cannot physically defend myself. And they're pretending that I'm not disabled when it suits them, and then pretending that I'm schizophrenic when it suits them. They're trying to play the mentally ill thing to try to discredit me and discredit my evidence. I mean, I can't just keep taking this. Also, when people are trying to bully somebody to commit suicide, that doesn't mean harm the person who's being bullied. People shouldn't be bullying me to commit suicide. It's illegal. If the people that told me to kill myself were able to succeed in getting me to kill myself, all of them could be charged with manslaughter. But of course, people would have to care for that to matter. Anyway, the situation this morning with the police as well as the dispatch, that wasn't handled properly. And I would like.
I understand you did tell me that. Like you said, I will be reviewing that and going through the proper channels to rectify any potential problems.
Yes, ma'am. Hopefully, you guys can get that training for everybody there.
Yes, that is my anticipation.
Now,
if necessary, we will take care of that.
As far as the abuse against at-risk adults, like how do I stop the abuse against me when none of the mandated reporters want to do their jobs as mandated reporters?
Who do you mean specifically for the mandated reporters?
Well, the police themselves are mandated reporters. So are the people at TFCC. Same thing with the people at Northwest Senior and Disability Services. But every time I've gone to them about crimes committed against me and tried to show evidence, I've been blown off and sent around in circles. The police have sent me to TFCC at least half a dozen times. TFCC has sent me to the police at least a dozen times. All of them have just basically been sending me around in circles for the last 16 months here. And that includes the 911 calls where I'm nice, as well as the 911 calls where I curse. I won't call 911 unless there is an emergency. However, ongoing abuse is an emergency. It's a constant emergency, especially when the person who has harmed them has assaulted them more than half a dozen times in a 5-month period.
Okay, so Sean, what can I do to assist you at this time beyond what we've already discussed?
I don't know. I should probably write down that we had the discussion. All right, what time is it? 3:14. All right.
It's 3:14 p.m. Yes.
3:14 p.m. Dispatch supervisor. Sorry, I don't write very fast, and
You're fine.
I have really.
The dispatch supervisor 886.
886.
Correct. 886.
All right. Is there a number that I would need in order to get the call, or is just let them know 886 if I need to call anyone?
Yep, dispatcher 88 or supervisor 886 will lead them to me. They will know what that is. And you can just call the 503-815-1911 number to reach me if necessary.
503 what?
815
815
1911 is our non-emergency phone number.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, that's the one I just wrote down.
Yes, I believe it is the one that you called.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I've called the emergency and non-emergency numbers, but the non-emergency doesn't answer at night. Only the emergency one does.
Actually, the non-emergency will answer. It comes to the same center as the emergency calls.
Okay, so it's the non-emergency number for the sheriff's department that sends me through to a voicemail.
Correct. Now, since we dispatch for all police, fire, and medical for the entire county, if you need to call even the sheriff's office after hours, you can call that 815-1911 phone number to reach a call taker.
All right. There is one thing I wanted to bring up. Right now, I have court on Monday for calling up 911, and they charged me with improper use of 911.
Okay.
That situation was a very similar situation to this one. I did curse. But the situation with that is that I was trying to turn in abuse by law enforcement, specifically Lynn Lothman, and Lynn Lothman is the one that came to arrest me. I was trying to get them to understand that I'm being abused and trying to explain that I'm being assaulted and that officers aren't doing their jobs. They're intimidating me. But the court stuff that I have all tied up in, they're missing probably about the first 6 or 7 calls from that night. There's multiple situations where I was sent to other numbers other than yours to try to turn it in. And these people are all pissed off at me because I'm calling them for help that the police are supposed to do. Literally everybody that the police have pawned me off on have said, hey, it's the police's job to do that. So I'm afraid to call 911. This isn't the first time that a police officer has used 911 in such a fashion. No matter what 911 does, if the police aren't going to do their jobs, it's unsafe for me to go to 911 because they're just going to send the police. Now, in that particular call, I was trying to explain to them that I can't go to the police department. They're refusing to do their jobs. I needed to turn it into another agency. They absolutely refused to let me turn it into another agency. That's when it resulted in me calling them up and cursing at them and hanging up on them. And then they called me back and they said that they were going to send somebody from the sheriff's department to talk to me. I didn't quite get that part, but every single call before that, they told me that the only people they could send is the police.
Okay.
So that was the first time that, and that is what I'm going to court for, is because I made those 911 calls, and then the people at the other end, they did actually tell me this one time at all the calls that I could turn it into the sheriff's department. And the problem is that by the time she got to the point where she said that, I'd already been antagonized by the dispatcher as well as by the police. And I was just scared to the point that I couldn't even function to hardly even speak. The fact that they came and arrested me for that is horrible. And it was Lynn Lothman who came to arrest me.
Okay.
Also, the guy who keeps calling me, Andrew Wolnez, who I have a protection order against, he's literally calling me right now from a restricted number. I've recorded at least 5 or 6 recordings. I've answered them. He got the phone number at court. It was my safe number that was written down on the pieces of paper that was not supposed to go to Andrew Wolnez. The only people who had that number are 3 people who are helping me, 911 dispatch and the police officers. And of course, he didn't have that number before any of that. Now he has that number. He has called repeatedly from it. I didn't have this issue on this phone until that particular day, and I have answered the phone on more than one occasion to hear his voice on the other end. He keeps saying a protection order is just a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper. And I tried explaining that to Sadler this morning.
That was occurring for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding your court appearance tomorrow, I'm sorry, I can't give any advice or information regarding that.
That's right. It's actually on Monday. But the reason that I was letting you know that is so that you are aware that I have been through this before and that You know, there's only so much abuse that somebody can take before they're going to call up and curse. They're going to be angry. They're going to be pissed, especially if their loved ones are being killed. And that is the case. Natalie Bollinger is for surely a corpse. Christine Bouhit is for surely a corpse. And they're not the only people that are dead over the situation. So, obviously I've got valid reason to be afraid. Also, this guy continuing to harm me, like, it's not just him. They're working together as a group to make these things happen.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Anyway, I do want to thank you for taking the time to address this issue more professionally than the people that I spoke with last time.
Well, you're very welcome. And I'm sorry that you felt that you weren't with professionalism in the past.
Well, at least you talked to me like a person.
I will be looking into that and reviewing it, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
No problem. I hope you have a better day.
I won't, but I'll try. Thank you.
Very good.
Be safe.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, we got 2 trolls on here. Lovely. See, the problem is if the cops acknowledge this stuff in court, it lends near to all the other things that I said. And being as at least 3 of their officers are in trouble already for things that I've said, they don't want to tangle that way. Goddamn right I speak up. But now what are we going to do with this person calling himself needs something or other? Well, we're going to block the SOB. We'll take a screenshot so we got proof. Hide user on this channel. God damn, that's easy. We got some punk calling himself Arthur Morgan. Types, I think bro is crazy. Well, depends on which bro. I think everybody's crazy. All right. Well, I am a little bit late leaving the room here. I'm going to start shutting everything down, and I think I can take one load of my stuff down myself. I got to come up with some change to hire somebody to help me carry my other stuff.
Power off.
Fucking punks. I didn't get jack shit done today. Fuck this goddamn country and everyone. Of course, it could be worse. You could be from Tillamook. That's about like saying you have no conscience. It's like saying you don't care about anybody but yourself. It's like saying you'll pretend to be Christian just so the people at church give you something. Sayonara.